Hello, everybody. I'm Derek with the Post Political Podcast. I am super excited for our guest tonight, and I have a few friends working on her campaign, and I have been following it from pretty early on. So I'm very excited to talk to Stacey. But first off, we have the promo, so let's go into the Vermin Supreme Institute. Our purpose is to inspire social evolution through the disruption of authoritarianism, to promote compassionate activism, and to spread the knowledge of redacted history. Through the use of humor, direct action, and mutual aid, we uplift the disaffected, the disenfranchised, and the disempowered. And very happy to announce the Love and Action fundraiser was very successful. Thank you all to who donated. We were able to deliver full sets of winter survival gear to 75 unhomed individuals in Reno, Nevada. And then the remainder of that was handed out at the Fallon Soup Kitchen the weekend after. So thanks everyone who donated. I'm going to post the story in the comments here of kind of the wrap up and kind of what happened post, kind of handing everything out. So thank you all to donated and help support the Vermin Supreme Institute. We next up have Brewed Coffee. So if you're in Lexington, Kentucky, check out Brewed Coffee and Beer Drinkery. You can check out my affiliate link as well. I'll post it in the comments after. And you can buy mugs, shirts, hats, and masks, all sorts of different stuff there. So that's Brewed Coffee. I think it's brewedco.com, but you check out my affiliate link to help support the podcast. And lastly, we have the two promos that we're running on the Post Political Podcast Shop. First up, we have the Bridge Kids Give Back fundraiser. 100% of the proceeds go to Bridge Kids Give Back. They are committed to feeding, clothing, and uplifting one homeless, unhoused community at a time. And we also still have the Transnet Resource Network of Louisiana promo going. So if you go on the shop and buy the Be Gay Do Crime shirt, hats, or you can donate directly to the PayPal here. And I will link all of that in the comments as well after the show. They're both incredible mutual aid groups, and I hope folks are able to support them. And now we have Stacey Prussman. So she is a headlining stand-up comic, a radio host, actress, and the New York City mayor candidate going for the Libertarian Party. She is set to improve the quality of life for New Yorkers and give them a say in how their city government is run. Her platform revolves around transferring power from the government to people, and something I greatly support. I am very excited to talk to her. Let's bring her in. Stacey, how you doing?
Great to be here, Derek. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah,
this is podcast.
Yeah, this is great. No, I'm super excited to have you. This has been, like I said, I followed the campaign from early on. I don't remember who shared. It could have been Brianna Coyle. It could have been maybe Sasha. There's a bunch of Tom, Caitlin. I have a bunch of friends who are involved in the campaign.
My whole team, my whole amazing team. Larry Sharp. I announced it on Larry Sharp's show. Probably towards the beginning of the pandemic, actually. And then it sort of took flight, I guess, like December, January. It really took heels, and we really started going forward with it, in terms of getting the team together and getting the policies together and just really going full force. And now we're in full force mode right now. So it's so exciting.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I've seen a lot of the stuff that you've posted on. I followed you a lot on Twitter at first, and now I'm seeing a lot of stuff all over different social media. And I really enjoy. And I've gone on the website and checked out the policies and stuff.
Awesome.
I really do. I support. A lot of the stuff is right in line with what I believe as well, and focusing a little bit more on some of the social issues, and then a smart reopening. Where we're doing things right. I want to talk about all that, but first off, I'd really like to know kind of how you got to, third parties. We typically don't, start off in the third. Some people do, but I wanted to hear your story.
Do you mean in terms of a candidate or in terms of just a human being?
And a human being, yeah, in general. Like, how'd you end up, more kind of leaning into the third party realm instead of, the duopoly?
Well, I grew up in a lot of my dad's family was on one side, my mom was on the other side. I never felt quite pulled either way. I just sort of I was a person that just took issues and had feelings about those specific issues. And then I guess, reading, I knew about libertarianism over the years, and a lot of my friends identified that way. And I just, when I decided to run, I spoke to Larry Sharp, And I had already been interested in libertarianism, from afar, because I was a performer and I like the whole idea of freedom to the people and free speech. And there's a lot of ideology that I always agreed with, where all the other parties I just saw all the nonsense. Not that the Libertarian Party is perfect, but
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
lot, there's a lot of hypocrisy, and people don't speak to each other in other parties. Again, it's the duopoly that I hate so
Yep.
much. And I think it's only going to divide our country into a horror show. And so when I decided to run specifically after this last couple of years as a libertarian, because not only do I agree with the way that our party is, but I also agree with the fact that I'm sick of the duopoly and the sides and the picking and the this and it. You have to be all one way and be all another way. It's like, ugh, it just doesn't work that way. Life isn't like that. It's not black and white. There's so many gray areas, and one area I feel this way about, and one area I feel that way about, and I also want to do away with all the history of all the crap. I want to move forward from that. I think that symbolically, there's so much crap that our country has endured on both parties, obviously, and all the nonsense that goes with it. I really believe that this is the way forward in our country. This is a true democracy. We'll have 3-4 parties.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, one of you hit on a bunch of stuff that really resonated with kind of my kind of path as well. I mean, I kind of take issues as they come at me, and it's nice. What I find with the Libertarian Party is it's almost, a set of principles that it's built around, so you can apply those principles to different issues instead of having the DNC or the RNC tell you how to feel about a certain. Yeah, you actually get to think for yourself and do so. It's great. I agree.
I love that idea about it, Derek. And also, it's my team is made up of people with different ideologies. It's not just. I want people to know that are considering a candidate that my team has probably your best interest, because we're considering your best interest as a New Yorker, and we have so many different sides, political views coming together as we write policy from my personal ideology. But my policy team we're putting it all together like a
Right.
potpourri of amazingness. So that's what's so exciting about it. I don't know how else to put it. A potpourri of amazingness of different, to make solutions, to be solution based, and best for New Yorkers. What is best? What I feel is best.
That solution based piece I really love, because I feel like there's so much again kind of tied into other, and this goes for a lot of other parties, and it doesn't really go for the mainstream parties, because they've built this kind of machine of marketing and an aspect of going against the other side versus filling solutions. And honestly, if they had solutions to a lot of the problems, they'd kind of work their way out of a job, which is basically the goal of libertarians, is to work our way out of a job. They're kind of set in this cyclical kind of movement. And it's interesting, and I don't want to trash too much. I have friends in both.
No, I do too.
Stuff, but yeah, it's
like Larry Sharpe, for instance, has so many great ideas. For he ran for governor, and he's a part of my campaign as well. And there's so much that he has solutions for that probably people haven't even thought of, as the governor of New York. So it's so unbelievable what a creative mind can do, or someone with ingenious and all that stuff. They can really create. And I think when you think out of the box, because everyone wants to put themselves in a box, and I think that's so unhealthy. They want to, we're a tribal society, and it doesn't work anymore. We're in 2021. We're always going to be a little slightly tribal, but I believe that with our evolution of the mind and the body and the soul, we can't be where we are still.
Yeah.
I don't know how we even govern the way we still govern.
Yeah. And I think, we've seen this last year, a pretty significant change in people's lives and how even people have been governed. I mean, there's been a lot of things strictly, more forced upon people, I guess, instead of them being able to freely, move about their day. And, I'm not saying I don't believe there was some danger and some risk involved. Obviously, a lot of people have lost lives and family members and stuff to this, but there's also, like you said, going about things in a intelligent manner so that we are still allowing folks to do the right thing, but do it on their own instead of, really forcing things and trying to make it, mandated by the state and all that.
Right.
And that's a big piece of the
Well, I
campaign.
mean, I think that's crazy. Well, I mean, mandates, I don't think in our lifetime, even my mom, she's 80 something, there's been such a situation where our health is such at risk that we have to stay at home, or things are closed, or we have to wear some kind of protective covering, a mask. It's not in our wheelhouse, so to speak.
Right.
Like none of this. Like Americans in general, like we have amazing people who are self-sacrificing, every day. And
Yep.
it was up to, I think this was a call to action as well for people to make the choice to sort of be careful for themselves and their fellow American. And I think that it was a test to a lot of Americans to see, how much to trust science and the governments at the time, and then also how much to trust your own instincts and how much to be self-serving and not self-serving, excuse me, to be sort of maybe self-sacrificing a little bit. It was a test for everybody. I think there's a happy medium to all those things. There's a middle ground, and there's a logical way to go about and where your life. And I think what happened was a lot of people were in shock, and I took a lot of people to kind of figure their way out. It's like, it's like going in jail. I mean, I've never been in jail yet. That was a joke. I was a comedian. I've never been in jail, but it's like going into jail. It's a shock to the system.
Yep.
So essentially, most of America was put in jail in some sort, or house arrest, so to speak. And it's like learning something new. Like some people, like my friend became a bodybuilder. She lost like 100 pounds, became a bodybuilder.
Wow.
Like probably the same thing would happen in jail. I basically decided to run for office. I would have been the head. So I think it's like there was a place for growth, change. Some people didn't do so well emotionally. So, I mean, I think it's just like being put in jail. Like if you really wanted to look at people that are in jail, it probably was similar.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like you said, it's an interesting, because it was kind of put upon folks and folks were able to kind of do with it. What you saw some growth, you saw some folks that didn't do so well as well, and we have to try and figure out a good way kind of forward with all of that, with the people,
right,
everyone that kind of took all these different paths. And I think there's, like you said, there's good solution based thoughts that people can go down that path, or there's just kind of the rhetoric and continuing fighting, and that doesn't get us anywhere. That's not helping.
I don't have patience for rhetoric. If you know me, like I just like just what's the answer? Just give me the answer. I don't care. Like what are you gonna do? What are we gonna do? That's how I am. That's how I think. So my feeling as someone who's been on this earth quite a number of years, I feel that we're going to come out of this situation nationally with a mental health crisis. It's not going to show its head so fast.
Right.
It's going to be slow. Some people are going to have Stockholm syndrome. Some people are going to wear the mask when they're vaccinated and there's no diseases around. They don't want to get. Some people are going to be very rebellious. I mean, it's going to be a lot of different ways that people are going to go about this. I lived through 9/11 living in New York, and I could tell you the enormity of it didn't hit me for like a year or two, like maybe 2 years. And then I felt it and I started. So I think that this is going to be a different type of trauma. I don't know exactly what it's called or how it's going to play out, but it's going to be odd, particularly for our young people who don't know, who missed out on their senior year of high school or their games or the kindergarten class they were going to go into. And you can't get some things you can't get back.
Yep.
So, but it might have been a learning experience or a growth experience that they might have not had otherwise. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not future predictor or
Yeah.
fortune teller, as they say, but I do know that there's going to be some sort of mental health crisis we need to be prepared for. Just like when people come home from war, there's going to be something, and we need to be open to that and to make sure that there is something in place for people, that they know that this is normal, that they're not crazy, and that this is an effect of what had happened with the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's a really good point, and I think that's something that a lot of folks are kind of stepping over. They're thinking about how to get the economy started back up, how to get people back physically into their jobs, and visiting families and things like that. But like you said, there's going to be a big spot, and in general, I think before even the pandemic, there was a huge hole of how we help folks with mental health issues, and even the stigmas that go around it, and people don't treat it like they would a broken ankle and things like that. But no, I want to talk a little bit more about the rest of the campaign as well, and kind of see how it's been going recently.
Well,
and,
that's part of it. That's one of the issues. Yeah, that's one of the main.
Yeah.
That's one of my issues on platforms, is the mental health of New Yorkers, and how do we get the right mental health to the right people? It's it's not so easy. Also, mental health help, from what it's not like you just get a therapist and you're better. It's not, it doesn't work where you get, it doesn't work.
Right.
It's like so specific, and it's so, you have to get the right person that it's like a relationship, essentially. Having the right therapist or the right person to talk to. It's not just shoving pills in somebody's face. That's psychiatry, but the psychology is something, maybe there'll be more group. I think group therapy is a way to go for some people. I think it's going to be really, really helpful. Because people helping people is a really huge thing. It works in 12-step programs a lot, so it'll probably work this way. So I think that's a way to go for a lot of people, because it's hard to match the exact right therapist, the exact right person,
Right.
and it has to gel. It's a special relationship. Believe me, I've had a lot of therapists, so I know.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, and that kind of goes along with a lot of the solution-based stuff that libertarians, especially a lot of the stuff that I believe in, is kind of that mutual aid, helping your neighbors, helping your community, and in going into, like you said, some more group therapy, or people helping people and kind of pairing up to be able to lean on each other and help each other. I think that's going to be so incredibly important, and hopefully, as we had said before, if we can lead the way and be less of a battle between one side and the team red versus team blue or whatever, and we can actually bring people together and try and show that, hey, we're going to need our neighbors after this. We're going to need our communities after this. And this is how we can do it. We don't have to keep fighting, one side versus the other. We can kind of be a third option and a kind of a voice of reason amongst kind of the rhetoric that goes back and forth.
Of course. I mean, I think that, like, if you meet your neighbors, they're all different political, ideologies, or they feel one way about one subject and a different way about this subject. I hear a lot, well, I'm fiscally conservative and, socially liberal. And that's a very big thing in New York. You hear that, whatever that means. I don't know what the hell it means anymore. I don't know what that means. What does that even mean? It's like, I don't spend my money. I don't really understand what that means. I mean, it's like, this is so, I kind of get it, but it doesn't really make sense. Like, I don't want to, basically saying, I don't want to give my money away is really what it's saying.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, people work hard for their money, and there's also, I like to, when I do have money to give to charities personally, I like to know where my money is going. I like to I like to give back when I can, and I think that a lot of people do. And I think that's really, I've seen it all over the internet with every party, with every type of political belief. I've seen people supporting people, and that is what always makes society work well. Not the government. The government messes a lot of things up. We see that all the time. As someone who's running for office, I hope I don't mess it up. And if I do mess it up, you're going to know it, and I'm going to tell you. And it happens. People mess up. We're not perfect. Human beings aren't perfect. Leaders aren't perfect. But I think transparency is so important. And I hope that if I have the honor to be mayor of New York City, that I will be as transparent as I possibly can. Maybe a little too transparent, but that's just who I am. I've always been that way. That's my team. I tell them everything. They know everything. There's no secrets. There's very little secrets with me. So,
and I think that's something that would be welcome. I mean, if you look at especially a lot of the recent stuff in the news about New York in general, with the governor and stuff, there's transparency. I think would be a welcome change. I feel like it's the same thing in Boston. We see, in my state, we see kind of a very similar thing. I feel like in a lot of other states with real major cities like that, where there's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors and just kind of get presented to the public. And instead, like having that sort of transparency in government, I think really helps people understand what's happening, and they don't there's obviously a welcome animosity from my perspective to the state government and the national government, but being able to work together in a city, work together in a community, if that does entail working with the local government, it should be as transparent as possible, so you know who to work with and you know what's actually being done and what is potentially being done that could be harmful to the folks in your community.
Right, of course. I mean, I think that it's so important, and I think sometimes we've been in this society or country of secrecy, not telling the public. Then they tell, manipulating the public to think certain ways about certain things. And I don't think people spoke up when they needed to. Like the whole thing in the beginning with the pandemic with Dr. Fauci, like, I don't know if he was told to say that by the president, and then he said something different. It's like, you're the doctor. Like the president, I'm not a doctor. I'm running for mayor. If I win the mayoral seat, then I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor. Like, right. I want like a bunch of different doctors behind me, medical professionals, telling me if there's another, God forbid, pandemic or some other crazy thing, what the best solutions are. I'm not going to tell you what to say for my political gains. That's, to me, is insanity and a narcissist. So for me, that's how I want the experts in every field behind me, telling me. Yeah. And I want to, take those experts, create a policy or create a situation to make it work best for my city, opposed to just like, manipulating and changing things. And it's wrong to do that to people. It's wrong.
I couldn't agree more.
I don't know. I'm just an idealist. What do you want from me?
Yeah, and I hear that a lot as well. I mean, it's the same. I feel like we hear that because it is this big machine that feels like it's very difficult to change. And I think there's a lot to be won in third party campaigns, and I love folks. I've worked on a few campaigns in the past, and I love folks who see both wins potential in the campaign itself and pushing to win the race that they're entering. And I wonder, I wanted to ask too, what, at the end of the campaign, I am obviously rooting for you extremely hard, but I want to know, what would you like to accomplish in just the campaign piece before, getting into mayor? If nothing else, what do you hope people pull from this and learn from it, I guess?
I hope that they see a real healthy third party campaign with great people behind it, and that the message of libertarianism and what we offer as a party and as me as a candidate comes through, and that the next race that will win as well, and maybe in governor, I know hopefully Larry will be running for governor and he'll win, and that we have our policies. We believe in liberty, and that people have to make choices, and that you have a choice, and that you've seen a real democracy. Like, a successful campaign would be that I got a percentage of the votes that weren't just like 8.8%, a real like a three-way split sort of, that would be a successful campaign. I believe that'd be successful. It's not just about, I'm in it to win it, but I'm also want to make sure that people take the campaign utterly serious, and that we are not a joke, and we are utterly writing policies day and night to put onto the platform that may hopefully make New Yorkers feel that I will be a good leader, and that these are the things that they want, and that will solve a lot of the problems we have in New York right now. We have huge problems. We just came out of a pandemic. Half the cities closed, particularly Manhattan is disaster. Not to be grim, but it's not the same Manhattan I grew up in. I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Brooklyn, and I've seen New York in different forms and thriving. And I've seen it, not so thriving, but this is probably the saddest I've ever seen it, because the rents are down, which is a good thing. Affordable housing has always been a problem in New York since I remember trying to find housing as someone out of college. So, hopefully I'll be able to change those things and make them better for people to live, make it an easier city to live in.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard city to live in. It's always been. If you don't know, and it takes a lot. So it also needs to be fun again. Like that's one. I mean, not to be so bland, but it needs to be freaking fun again. It's like, we need to bring that spirit back. And I think that if anyone could do it, I could do that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's great. And I like the fact that you want to keep it fun and enticing to people to learn more about the general platform and everything as well. I saw one of the parts of the platform too that about no kill shelters in New York City. I adopted our dog. I completely believe in the adoption of animals, and my I have a couple of friends that help bring some pets up from Aruba and some of the islands and stuff
like
as well.
The tree, like the transport. Yeah, there's a lot of homeless pets all over the country and the world, and I believe that there's a gentleman, Nathan Winograd, who wrote a book called Redemption, and he's created no kill shelters throughout the country in big cities. Why we have not gone that route in New York City is beyond me. I don't know. No one's either paid attention or really given a crap about it. That's one of my goals. I mean, New York's supposed to be, no offense, Boston, but New York is the greatest city in the world, and we don't have a no-kill shelter.
Right.
Our animals are, healthy, adoptable, beautiful animals are being killed. Now, the other crazy, people give money, like there's rescues and people donate, and they still kill the animal, the healthy, well adoptable animals. So there's a lot of lack of transparency in our animal care control. I want to rename it and call it Animal Care and Sanctuary in New York City, because the word control is horrible to me. It's like pest control. Ugh. So I want to change the name. I want it to be like an animal sanctuary city for animals, that as well. So animal rights and welfare is a huge platform, a huge issue in my campaign. It always has been I've voted on a lot of those issues with candidates. There are people in one of the parties I've been that weren't pro-animal. I didn't vote for them.
Yeah.
So and I look for that.
That is it. And I know my wife's very much the same way. And I've felt very similarly. I haven't seen it come up a ton on our local politics and stuff, but I like that it's part of the platform. It's something that I haven't seen a ton in, different races and stuff. So I'm really appreciate that that's part of your platform. And I think that's really neat.
Thank you.
It's just, I think it's important. And I don't think it's really been talked about in, at that kind of higher level. And I think it needs to be. And it
does need to be talked about. And it's not just a running point. I've been involved in transport like you have. I've been involved in pulling animals out of the kill shelters and bringing them to fosters and working with rescues over the years. And I know rescuers, they work tirelessly every day and night to save these animals, and the city is not very helpful. So we're going to change that. One thing, if I can do that, that's going to be a huge thing. We're only as kind as how we treat Gandhi had that, our beings, our smallest beings or whatever. So
yeah. No, it's true. It's, we a lot of folks in the Libertarian Party believe in the non-aggression principle and not doing harm to others or taking, stuff from other people. And I think that can be extended to different animals and stuff as well. I think there's, different people make the line at some point, I guess, along that line for different animals and stuff. But I think that's a great point and a great way to kind of apply some of the principles to it. Something that like I said, I just haven't seen it brought up on a lot of libertarian campaigns, and I appreciate that you are.
Thank you. Well, I hope that people take heed to that, because if there's any place to show non-aggressions to the beings that don't have any voice or voting, or they're trapped.
No, that's very true. No, and how has I've seen little bits and pieces from, like I said, Tom and Caitlin and a few other folks, Brianna.
Love those guys, yeah.
But, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, how the campaign trail's been going.
It's been so much fun. Well, we just really, we got our team together, and now we're up and running. I was spent the weekend doing some campaigning in Staten Island in New York City. We had a little rally, anti-Cuomo rally. That was interesting. There was a lot of different organizations there, not just us. There was other organizations there. New York right now is like the 60s. I mean, there's protests every day, like about something about worker injustice and Black Lives Matter and all these great organizations that are doing great things for humanity, that really want humanity to thrive at the end of the day. Workers' Injustice was there. There was another group, I forgot the name of it. The DSA also had another protest. People want to hear, and accountability for, Cuomo's accountability, particularly with the nursing home situation. It's very important that people know exactly what happened and take responsibility, and we're in a, we need that right now. We need our leaders to take responsibility for both their good, their wrongdoings and their things they do well. So yeah,
I feel like there's a big lack of accountability that's been kind of rampant throughout, local politics all the way up through kind of the federal realm. And, like I said, it kind of, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, it does stem from kind of one side versus the other and playing that marketing game of, no matter what they do, as long as they have a D or an R next to their name, I'm going to say it's the right thing because they're part of my team or whatever. And it's just kind of like the team mentality.
Versus, it's that kind of thing. The Mets versus the Yankees, it's that, right. That happens all the time. And it's weird. And I think also social media, which I don't know, it's like, what election was, I worked for a company called Headcount in 2012. My friend is one of the main people that I think he owns the company, started it. They're the Register to Vote. They're a bipartisan Register to Vote company. They go to concerts and they register young people to vote or people that aren't registered. And I worked on it through social media. It was a social media where we'd hold up a sign, but register to vote, and you press on the link, and then you can register to vote for the primary. I think it was 2012. So I think social media just really started taking. It's like really was effective in elections those years. This is a new thing. This is like this Twitter, and it was all unprecedented, except for maybe just maybe the presidents weren't known to tweet or have. This is the first, I think, 8 years of that.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't even know if Obama tweeted that. I don't even think it was that popular during Obama's term.
Yeah, I think it was here and there. I think it was like late second term or something.
It wasn't like a big deal,
Yeah.
It was used. It wasn't really used. And then 2016, it was like a big deal, like with the election, and and it's very easy to sway people with trolls. And I've seen it myself, how there was like a lot of trolls on both, and they're obvious trolls, on fake. Democratic supporters, fake Republican, and they're just obvious fake accounts that are made from, and don't seem like they're American accounts either, the way they were written. And I could tell right away. I'm like, why are you in and they would have they would describe, and in the description, it was from a different country. I'm like, why would you be so involved in our election? Even if you're a fake, it just was and I recognize it right away, but some people don't. They don't, they can't tell. They just think it's, if you have 3 followers, or even 88, some people had 8,000 followers, but they had no real picture. And then you would look at it was repetitive media. I'm no one tweets like that. No human being tweets like that, So
copy and paste, in comments all over the place, and there's sometimes 3-4 times. Yeah, absolutely.
People don't tweet like that. That's not how it works. People yell at each other or whatever, but it doesn't not repetitive, and it's not the same picture is posted over and over and over. So there was that was going on, and I think it was unprecedented in our elections to have that much, influence through social media in general. And I don't know how moving forward, how we're going to change that, or make it not. It's like another entity that we just haven't really figured out, and it's not in our Constitution.
Yeah.
It's really not. It doesn't, no Twitter. It doesn't. It's another entity. So back in the day, they had newspapers, or television. Someone would talk on the TV and give their who, what, why, where, and then. And now there's all these different types of news stations. There's more conservative. There's more liberal. There's middle. I mean, it's like they don't just say what's going on. It's like there's a spin. There's a screw in there. So that's also interesting.
And it's like you said, it's kind of never the straight factual news reporting that, you know, maybe we were or weren't getting, I guess, in the past. I'm not exactly sure, but the rate of news is increased significantly because we were able to get a tweet, you know, every second or, you know, up to the kind of moment reporting of what's going on at different places and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you see the, you know, the rhetoric kind of charge up on both sides. And you know, the 2016 election, I think, was really interesting to see. Like you said, you know, it did seem like there was this big surge of kind of bots and stuff coming into it, but also, you know, the stakes almost became higher. It felt like, you know, they were, and it was really just pure marketing from both sides of they're going to do this to you if they get elected, or they're going to do this to you if they get elected. You know, it seemed like there was higher and higher. They just kept kind of building that up, and I think that really forced a lot of the rhetoric between, you know, I've seen families, I've seen
oh God, families don't talk to each other anymore. Husband and wives are divorced over. It's really, I mean, serious like problems.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the big things is we've been told, you know, don't talk about religion or politics, you know, at the dinner table. And at the end of the day, if we don't talk about it, and then we're sitting there with all that pent up whatever and going to the keyboard and you know, saying all this stuff without, you know, with some sort of veil of anonymity or whatever, it doesn't, you know, end up having a growing conversation where you're actually sitting there across the, you know, there's certain chemicals in your brain that actually get stimulated when you're talking across the table from someone, and you're willing to say different things that way versus on the computer behind a screen and all that.
Exactly. Even the dating apps, like I was on the dating apps back then, and it was like, people were like, it was about who you're voting for. It's like, you know, I don't want any of this kind of support, or I don't want, you know, this. It was like, oh God, it was like going into the dating app. People were asking, it got really intense. I'm like, can you get out of one aspect of someone's life? Can we just have fun, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I think, like we were saying before, you know, I think there's just a big sigh of relief kind of going into the third party world of, well, we don't have to deal with this, you know, kind of rhetoric on the left and right. And we still do. It finds its way into conversations here and there. But I think there is a nice breath of fresh air that, you know, like you said, it's solution based. It's really trying to drive at the actual issues that we're really seeing versus, you know, rhetoric and what should a side say. I just think that's an interesting point we brought up. And
yeah, I mean,
ties back into this.
We need to totally fix that, but I don't know how to do that. Personally, I don't know how to do it, but it goes into every aspect. And, you know, I remember growing up, and I don't know if you remember this, you don't have to tell anybody who you voted for. That's between you and the voting machine or whatever. I remember that was very taught to us in school.
Right.
And that totally changed.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's certain assumptions that people make as soon as, I mean, I see it all the time when I say I'm a libertarian. People are like, oh, you're just a Republican who likes to smoke weed, or you're, you know, whatever. They have this immediate reaction to saying I'm a libertarian, or this immediate reaction to Democrats, Republicans as well. And I feel like, you know, there's a lot of, and this is what I think, you know, really has helped. And I've seen a lot of inspiring things about the stuff that I've seen in your campaign as well. Is it's just, this is what I am. I'm running with the Libertarian Party, but this is what I believe, and this is what I'm doing. And it's wonderful. I think it's your brand of what you believe in the libertarian spectrum of I guess libertarianism. And it's
like, I want to legalize marijuana, but I don't even smoke weed, not because I'm against it. Just, it doesn't make me high enough.
No, and I have a lot of friends who are, you know, kind of advocates who don't smoke as well. I think it's
nothing. It's like really against. I wish it did work. People are like, you would feel better. I'm like, this is a funny story. I went to a coffee shop that had this. It had like CBD. It had like infused coffee in Brooklyn. It's like one of the only places. I don't know if it had THC. Whatever it was. So I drank the coffee, and I got that much into the coffee. And I love coffee. If you know me, I love coffee. I vomited up the coffee. This was like over the summer. It was like, I don't know, the CBD didn't agree with me, or just didn't agree with me. I just vomited up the coffee.
Yep.
And I wasn't high, or it just felt yucky. So I don't know. Everyone has a different body, and their body
Yeah.
grews them differently.
Yeah, I know there's some allergies to some of the stuff that people use to grow and things like that as well. It
I
could
have
have
allergies to
related from
that.
that.
So
Yeah.
it's just, but I'm not going to take it away from other people. I'm like, no, we, because I threw up once or something, or I
Yeah,
went crazy from edibles a few million times. Yeah. So yeah.
and I think that's wonderful. That's an impressive aspect of kind of the greater kind of libertarianism thing is even if it's not something that you're personally fighting for yourself, you don't want to take it away from other people. And I think
No, it's not
that
my
is a
place
big
to do that.
change. Yeah, yeah.
Why would I want to take, uh, stuff away from other people that they enjoy, that make people like, I like, um, herbal tea, but you're not gonna take it away from me if you hate it. It's like I don't understand. Like even like relationships, like people are like, "Well, do you mind if I eat this?" Or I'm like, "No, it's your life. Do what you
Right.
want."
Yeah, and I think
That's my view. I think that's very important to let people be who they are, because they're not, if they feel held back or they're not being true to themselves. Having a society of millions of people not being true to who they are is a bad society. I don't want to live in that kind of society.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I want every person to be the exact the version of themselves that they most likely want to be. You know what I mean? It's as long as they're not hurting anyone else, it's free
Yeah,
reign.
totally. It's
Yeah.
just how I feel. I've always been that way.
Yeah,
Or else
that's great. I think it's great. Just in general, just a general note to the conversation we've had so far is it's nice to get policy perspectives and things like that, but it's nice. I feel like we actually got a little bit of you and able to understand you as a person and how you would help the city of New York and being able to do things with kind of this open-minded perspective of trying to find the experts and things like that. I just general note about this. I just think that's kind of a wonderful addition that you don't always get. I've talked to a bunch of folks running for office, and sometimes it's just they want to make sure everyone understands what their policy points are, and that's it. That they kind of hide behind a curtain a little bit, and it's nice to get a person behind it as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't really know how to hide behind a curtain that well. I'm not really that good at it. From doing years of stand-up comedy,
Yep.
I did almost 18, 20 years of stand-up comedy, and I'm still doing it when I have the chance. There's not a lot of filter in me. I don't have a lot I'm learning better. I mean, for just to be more able not to get beeped on camera. you know, it was so hard. I used to do, one of the first, I don't know if I told you, one of the first things I ever did was in libertarianism was I did a radio show with the Reverend Bob Levy, who used to be on Howard Stern years ago.
Yep.
And he asked me to co-host a show with him. We called it Ears Wide Open, and it was on a libertarian radio station. But it was more like, it seemed more right-wing libertarianism, but our show was just comedy. We just talked about literal nonsense. Like
Yep.
I would say that I would talk about learning to fly an airplane. And because I didn't have I don't have a driver's license for a car. So I said, but I'm going to take lessons to learn how to fly a plane first. I bet. So we'd have this whole bit about me, actually I called up an airplane school, pilot school.
Yep.
And it was just nonsense like that. It was funny, fun stuff. We had celebrities on our show that would be guests. We had some great guests. So, that was like the first taste of libertarianism, even though that the station didn't feel very libertarian. We had Alex Jones was 3 hours after us or something. There was we were in the same, did it from home, but it was all different. It was a lot of very right wing and Alex Jones, what I would call him. I don't know what he is. But
Yeah, and it's interesting, the point you brought up, and we talked about it a little bit before. I feel like there's a lot of different, because it's more of a principle that you can apply different things to. Different people apply different things to. So if you are more interested or care about more some of the social aspects that you want to, decriminalizing drugs or legalizing or decriminalizing sex work or anything like that, you can apply libertarian principles to things like that. Or if you want it to apply to just the Second Amendment and taxes and those kind of, you can also apply it to that. And I think it does bring this kind of large spectrum. and different libertarians believe, only some part of the spectrum is true libertarians and all that. But I think it's actually wonderful that it brings a diversity of people and a diversity of ideas together so that we can learn from each other and learn and kind of actually discuss and ideate how those principles do impact our everyday lives and how we should put that into policy or lack of policy or whatever, whatever that may be.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah. Like the mental health issue is such a big deal. And then that goes into the 2A and people, most people that shoot up places usually aren't mentally well. So it goes into addiction, drug addiction as well. So it's like a whole, and crime in general. So if you have a mentally healthy, there's going to be less crime, less anything bad happening. So,
Right.
and maybe that's idealistic. I mean, things happen, too, can't control everything. Society, government can't control the unexpected, you can't govern unexpected events. It's like you can't govern a traffic accident. You don't know that's going to happen unless your red lights don't work or your signs aren't clear. But other than that, if you have those in place, if your infrastructure is in place and it's working perfectly well, you can't control somebody's, action. It's sort of like that.
Yeah. And it would be almost, it would be overbearing and kind of overwhelming to try and do so. I mean, it's there's only so much, and I'm fairly, once we fix some of the things and kind of get to the point, I'd love to see very little to no anything, it kind of telling us what it should be, kind of more natural law of people and stuff.
Right.
But that's long ways down the road. But
we have to do things in increments. Like if we want change, effective, not, you don't want to shock anybody's system. All of a sudden, one day, everything's gone nuts. So if you want things to change, you do it slowly, you do it succinctly, and you measure it and you see how people are doing it. And you don't make anyone feel that they're in like another world. All of a sudden they wake up. Like hence the lockdown. No one, like I have friends literally that haven't been in society. Like they haven't gone anywhere. I mean, I've been doing everything. Like I've done the most what I could do, except travel. I haven't really traveled outside the, really outside the, I've been on a plane, but I feel that, people are going to have a lot of trouble entering society, and some, like particularly in places that have been very locked down for a long time, like New Yorkers. And I just talked to my friend in Virginia. She's been working from home. She goes, I haven't left the house, and like, except to go to Target or whatever you go, the store. She goes, I haven't really been anywhere, and she's like finally going out to eat here and there. But it's like, it took a long time for her to, I'm like, just take it slow. Don't rush, even being out, like campaigning the last couple of weeks, cause it's been winter, it's been cold. I'm like, wow, I haven't been out this much. And it was like, cause you have to put the mask on and you go in the restaurant, the mask, and you go, it's uncomfortable. It's not the most comfortable. So it's not like so easy, just to like easy breezy in and out of the, type of thing. And I think that's something that a lot of people are going to get used to. Like, what's going to happen when like this kind of goes away, and then people are going to be like, oh, what do I do? And, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to go on the subway ever again without a mask, because I've gotten sick on that subway. Forget about I used to get cold every other day on the subway. So, I mean, I'm like, I know in Asia, they've been wearing masks way before this pandemic. So,
I talked about this a little bit on Tuesday with Dan Fishman. He came on. He was a former executive director of the Libertarian Party, and we talked a little bit about kind of how it's kind of a shame that masks got politicized because I travel for work. Sometimes I was an engineer at Bose for 10 years, and so I traveled to Southeast Asia a decent amount. And it was second nature. If you felt sick, you put on a mask so that you didn't get your, fellow person sick or whatever. And it just seemed like such a considerate thing to do for other folks around you. And to see it kind of got politicized here, it kind of ruined what could be just a natural, friendly thing to do to help your neighbor. And instead became whether or not you believe Donald Trump versus someone, whatever. It just ended up being
like why is it political? I mean, yes, it's a choice to wear a mask, but then also are you making a choice to, if you know then I didn't understand why people they weren't tested more often. There was like a lot of things that didn't make sense that could have solved a lot of our problems. Like if there was testing everywhere, I'm positive and or negative and I'll stay home or else, it's just, there's other ways to go about it.
Right.
I just think it was like, whatever. It just was poorly handled. And like, I don't want to get a cold. Like, and how about the kid that I used to go to work in the comedy clubs and people would come in coughing and sneezing and the snot's coming down their nose. They'd be on the microphone and like, I'm like, ooh. And then all the comedians would get sick on that show because everyone's touching the same microphone. And, like, I don't miss that at all.
Yeah, no, I bet. So we're kind of coming up on the time that I try and do. We've it's just kind of flowed so naturally that it kind of went.
This was so much fun. I had such a great time, Derek. Thank you for having me.
No, this was great. I loved talking with you. I'd love to talk with you more throughout the campaign as well. And I want to give you an opportunity to kind of leave us with, one chunk of piece of information or anything that you need for signatures or whatever you need. Or you want to tell us, let us know.
Well, the signatures, I think we have our libertarian signatures. So we might need further signatures coming up. We're going to see what's going to happen with that. Okay. Donate. We are a third-party campaign. Nobody's hands are in my pocket or my hands are in their pockets. I don't know what the right term is. So donate at PrussmanForMayor.com. It's a secure link. And we have, I think our Zazzle store is up. We have t-shirts, we have hats coming, and we have buttons and stickers and all that fun stuff, swaggy stuff. So buy something. I got to talk to Fight. I think he was in charge of my Zazzle store.
Perfect.
Mr. Fight. And so, yeah, we have like, we're just heating up. I've been doing mayoral forums. There's tons of them, which are so awesome. I've been sort of debating. They're not really debates. They just want you to talk for 2 minutes. Sometimes people go at each other, but not too often, about different issues. There's one coming up about women's rights and women's health issues. There's other ones about education, and there's going to be another one about arts and culture. So I'm going to put that on the website so you can zoom in and watch me debate the other candidates. I just recently did a climate change one with all the major candidates were on that particular one. So you can hear how other people, what their views are as well, my views. And, I want America to be America. I want New York to open up, wake up again and wake the F up, as I say, financially stable, functioning properly, fun. There's a lot of different the F train not to take forever. I just want New York to be less bureaucratic, less zoning, reform zoning radically, reform our police radically, make citizens feel safer, make people thrive in their businesses, not feel restricted with antiquated laws that are on the books for years. So I want small businesses to come back and people to be creative and to the arts and culture to thrive. And I want to see a renaissance in New York. I believe New York will have a renaissance. So
that'd be wonderful. No, that sounds great. And I put the link in the comments so that folks wherever they're watching should be able to see it and click the link. Yeah, no worries. And anything that you have that's coming up or anything like that, feel free. I know a lot of the folks in the communications, we have a post-political community group that's like a Facebook group. Yeah, that we share stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have events. We have some fun events coming up. Some will be Zoom events. Some will be live events. Some will be in the New York area. So even if you're not in the New York area, you might be able to get like comedy shows coming up and all kinds of great stuff. So I'll let you guys know. It'll be on my website. It'll be on social media. Follow me, right? Stacey Prussman. Right now, that's my regular. I think we're gonna do another specific campaign, social media as well for my candidacy. But right now, it's Stacey Prussman everywhere. So perfect. If you have any questions about, or you're a New Yorker and you want to see something specifically changed, or you have a special interest in something that you would like to see done, I'm like willing to talk to New Yorkers and find out what your needs are. Obviously people want to feel safe. They want to thrive. They want to have, their businesses back. So, but there might be something I'm missing that you may not, that I've not addressed. So feel free to hit me up about that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I think it's wonderful being able to talk to folks and kind of get their perspective as well on.
Well, I'm working for them. That's how it is. If I represent you, I'm working for you. And that's, 100%. If you vote for me, I'm working for you. That's how it goes. I mean, people forget that, but when you get elected office, you're working for the people that you represent. And you want their best interest at heart, not me living in a mansion. I want your best interest at heart, Yep. So that's why the more people I speak to, the better I will govern. So
yeah, no, that's 100%.
We're not governed so much because you guys are going to govern yourselves because you are self-responsible.
That's right.
That's the libertarian in me. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. And like I said, I really appreciate everything, you brought to the show. It was more than, like I said, it was really wonderful to be able to kind of get to know you a little bit more as a person and as a candidate. And I think, like I said, I'm behind you. I'm hoping that we can help get the word out and, share with a ton of people on our social media as well. And
thank you. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, really positive campaign. I'm really excited to see it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And this is a great show. And I really appreciate giving me the platform to speak and to be, seen and to express what I want to bring to the city. And you're a great host. So thank you.
Thank you. You have a great night and I will talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
So that was Stacey Prussman. And like I said, I'm really happy with having her on the show. It's been wonderful to get to know her, get to know the policies and get to know some of the different things that she wants to address. Like I said, there's a lot of things there that I've never seen in different campaigns, especially some libertarian campaigns. And I think it's wonderful to bring a different perspective to libertarianism and how to apply our principles to different aspects that might not be at the forefront of some other people's minds, but are an important aspect to Stacey and her campaign. So it's wonderful. And I'm so looking forward to how the rest of the campaign goes. I hope, wish her the best and everyone working on the campaign. So I wanted to bring up next week's guest. So we have two guests as well next week. It's probably the last two guest week we'll have for a while. But we first up have Carolyn Fiddler. So she is the communications director at the Daily Kos and progressive Dem who's an expert at state legislative policymaking. So it'll be very interesting to kind of get a different perspective on, different state policies and how they are, how we can change those and work together with progressive Dems to achieve, some of the things that we want to do that's on their docket as well. And then after that, we will have Caitlin Cloven. So Caitlin is a good friend of mine, but she's also the marketing and communications genius for, she works for Stacey Prussman, who we just had on, Spike Cohen, Vermin Supreme, Sasha Cohen, and a ton of others. She's helped with most of the campaigns that I've worked on as well. And like I said, she's one of my great friends. So I'm really looking forward to talking with her on April Fool's Day, actually. So we have a great week next week of guests coming up, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Post Political Podcast. Have a great night.